Λοιπόν, νομίζω ότι μπορούμε να ξεκινήσουμε σιγά-σιγά. Καλησπέρα σας, αγαπητές συναδέλφισες και συνάδελφοι. Εκ μέρους της Οργανωτικής Επιτροπής του 28ου Πανελλήνιου Συνεδρίου Ακαδημαϊκών Βιβλιοθηκών, σας καλωσορίζω στο απόψινό μας διαδικτυακό σεμινάριο με τίτλο «Πώς είναι μια καλή μέρα στη δουλειά, βρίσκοντας χαρά, αξιοποιώντας το έπακρο την εργασιακή μέρα και συμβάλλοντας σε μια θετική οργανωσιακή κουλτούρα». Επιτρέψτε μου να υπενθυμίσω ότι το σεμινάριο μεταδίδεται απευθείας στο κανάλι YouTube της Βιβλιοθήκης Κέντρου Πληροφόρησης του Ιονίου Πανεπιστημίου. Επίσης, βιντεοσκοπείται και θα αναρτηθεί στον ιστότοπο και στο κανάλι YouTube του Δικτύου Οικονομικών Βιβλιοθηκών. Φωτογραφίες ή μάλλον στιγμιότυπα οθόνης θα λαμβάνονται κατά τη διάρκεια του σεμιναρίου για το αρχείο της Βιβλιοθήκης και του Δικτύου Οικονομικών Βιβλιοθηκών για λόγους προβολής της δράσης στις ιστοσελίδες των διοργανωτών, στα μέσα μαζικής ενημέρωσης και στα μέσα κοινωνικής δικτύωσης. Πριν προχωρήσουμε μερικές διευκρινήσεις, τα μικρόφωνά σας και οι κάμερές σας είναι απενεργοποιημένα. Μπορείτε να αλλάξετε το όνομά σας για λόγους προστασίας των προσωπικών σας δεδομένων. Μπορείτε να διατυπώσετε τις ερωτήσεις σας στο Q&A, στο κάτω μέρος της οθόνης σας, και στο τέλος της κύριας παρουσίασης θα επιχειρήσουμε να απαντηθούν όλες. Για οτιδήποτε άλλο πλην ερωτήσεων, μπορείτε να χρησιμοποιείτε το chat. Αν υπάρξει διαθέσιμος χρόνος, θα μπορέσουμε να δώσουμε το λόγο στους συμμετέχοντες και στις συμμετέχουσες και τοποθετήσεις ή ερωτήσεις. Μια που το σεμινάριό μας θα διεξαχθεί στην αγγλική γλώσσα, μπορείτε να γράψετε ό,τι θέλετε να μοιραστείτε στο chat και ερωτήσεις στο Q&A, είτε στα αγγλικά είτε στα ελληνικά, και με τις συνδιοργανώτριές μας θα προσπαθήσουμε να τα μεταφράσουμε. Επιτρέψτε μου να πω δύο λόγια και στα αγγλικά, ώστε να μας ακολουθεί και η ομιλήτριά μας ή όποιος άλλος έχει συνδεθεί περιμένοντας να ακούσει αγγλικά. So today's webinar is organized within the context of the 28th Pan-Hellenic Academic Libraries Conference by the Hellenic Economic Library Network and the Ionian University Library. The topic is about what does a good day at work look like, finding joy, making the most of the work day, and contributing to a positive organizational culture. And our keynote speaker is Dr. Liz Cooper, Special Science Librarian and Associate Professor at the University of New Mexico, USA. Thank you, Liz, for being here today with us. With the time difference, what time is it over there in New Mexico?
It's 8 in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's 5 in the afternoon, but I'm
Yes.
glad it's not a weird time for neither.
No, it works.
It works, really. So my co-hostesses today is Ifigenia Vardacosta and Antika Tsirikou, both doctors. Before we begin, I would like to say a few more words in Greek. Οπότε, συνεχίζω ελληνικά. Το σημερινό σεμινάριο συνδιοργανώνεται από το Δίκτυο Οικονομικών Βιβλιοθηκών και τη Βιβλιοθήκη Κέντρο Πληροφόρησης του Ιονίου Πανεπιστημίου, στο πλαίσιο του φετινού Συνεδρίου των Ακαδημαϊκών Βιβλιοθηκών. Κύρια ομιλήτρια είναι η κυρία Liz Cooper, βιβλιοθηκονόμος κοινωνικών επιστημών και associate professor στο Πανεπιστήμιο του Νέου Μέξικο, τον ΗΠΑ. Την ευχαριστούμε ιδιαίτερα για τον χρόνο της και τη δυνατότητα που μας δίνει σήμερα να μάθουμε και να κουβεντιάσουμε για κάτι που μας απασχολεί συνεχώς και δεν μας δίνεται συνήθως η ευκαιρία να το συζητήσουμε σε ένα τέτοιο είδους πλαίσιο, και αυτό δεν είναι τίποτα λιγότερο από την εργασιακή μας καθημερινότητα. Πριν δώσουμε το λόγο στην ομιλήτριά μας, να ευχαριστήσω και να παρουσιάσω τις συνοικοδέσποινές μου, την κυρία Ifigenia Vardacosta, υπεύθυνη βιβλιοθηκονόμο της Βιβλιοθήκης και Κέντρου Πληροφόρησης του Χαροκοπείου Πανεπιστημίου και διδάκτορα εδώ του Ιονίου Πανεπιστημίου. Η βιβλιοθήκη στην οποία εργάζεται είναι ένα από τα ιδρυτικά μέλη του Δικτύου Οικονομικών Βιβλιοθηκών και της ομάδας Ακαδημαϊκών Γεωγραφικών Βιβλιοθηκών, που ήδη έχουμε ένα webinar που έχουμε κάνει λίγες μέρες πριν. Η δεύτερη συνδιοργανώτρια είναι η κυρία Ανθίκα Τσιρίκου, διδάκτορ βιβλιοθηκονομίας, προϊσταμένη της Βιβλιοθήκης του Πανεπιστημίου Πειραιώς. Είναι επιστημονική συνεργάτη στο Μεταπτυχιακό Διοίκηση Πολιτισμικών Μονάδων του Ελληνικού Ανοιχτού Πανεπιστημίου από το 2017. Η κυρία Κατσιρίκου είναι ιδιαίτερα δραστήρια συνάδελφος, διατελεί αυτή τη στιγμή πρόεδρος της Ένωσης Ελλήνων Βιβλιοθηκονόμων και Επιστημόνων Πληροφόρησης. Έχει διοργανώσει πολλά διεθνή συνέδρια και ακόμα περισσότερα εγχώρια. Όπως, ας πούμε, ήταν και μέλος στην Επιστημονική Επιτροπή του 28ου Πανελλήνιου Συνέδριου Ακαδημαϊκών Βιβλιοθηκών, με ενεργό μάλιστα ρόλο. Η βιβλιοθήκη στην οποία εργάζεται είναι και εκείνη μέλος του Δικτύου Οικονομικών Βιβλιοθηκών. Η κυρία Κατσιρίκου θα μας παρουσιάσει σύντομα τη δράση και τους σκοπούς της ομάδας του Δικτύου Οικονομικών Βιβλιοθηκών. Αλλά πριν δώσω το λόγο στην κυρία Κατσιρίκου, αν μου επιτρέπεις, θα ήθελα να ρωτήσω πώς προέκυψε το σημερινό webinar, πώς το σκεφτήκατε σαν δίκτυο. Έχει να κάνει με την παραγωγικότητα στην εργασία που πρέπει να έχουμε για να τα προλαβαίνουμε όλα?
Έτσι κι αλλιώς, καλησπέρα σας και από μένα. Ευχαριστούμε το Ιονίου Πανεπιστημίου που δέχτηκε την πρόταση του ΔΙ.Ο.ΒΙ για αυτό το σεμινάριο. Η παραγωγικότητα, νομίζω, στις ελληνικές βιβλιοθήκες είναι δεδομένη με ποια σκέψη ότι κάνουμε τόσα πολλά πράγματα που νομίζω ότι οι δυτικοί συνάδελφοί μας που χρειάζονται ένα στρατηγικό σχεδιασμό και ένα προγραμματισμό και προϋποθέσεις και budget και λοιπά για να κάνουν τόσα να υλοποιήσουν δηλαδή το πρόγραμμά τους και να εκπληρώσουν τους στόχους τους και την αποστολή τους, νομίζω ότι με τόσο λίγο προσωπικό δεν θα μπορούσαν να τα καταφέρουν όπως τα καταφέρνουμε εμείς εκ των ενόντων. Και έτσι λοιπόν αυτό το θέμα του σεμιναρίου αυτού, διαβάζω τώρα από την περιγραφή της αγαπητής μου Λιζ Κούπερ, τι σημαίνει, με τι μοιάζει μια καλή μέρα στη δουλειά, ποια είναι η αξία ενός πραγματικά εργασιακού περιβάλλοντος, τι λείπει, τι θα θέλαμε να έχει, τι κάνει μια εργασιακή ημέρα ευχάριστη, ποιες δράσεις πρέπει να ενσωματώσουμε οι συμπεριφορές στη δουλειά μας για να είναι πραγματικά ευχάριστη και σημαντική. Και αυτό λοιπόν βλέπετε ότι είναι πράγματα που αφορούν όλους τους. Δεν είναι δηλαδή μόνο η παραγωγικότητα, είναι ότι πρέπει να περνάμε καλά στη δουλειά μας. Περνάμε το 1/3 της ζωής μας στη δουλειά μας και πραγματικά πρέπει να περνάμε καλά. Αν μπορούμε αυτό να το βελτιώσουμε, θα έχουμε κερδίσει πολλά πράγματα. Αυτή ήταν η σκέψη του ΔΙ.Ο.ΒΙ για αυτό το σεμινάριο της Λιζ και που συναντά και τους στόχους βιώσιμης ανάπτυξης, συναντά και την ανάπτυξη και την παραγωγικότητα που το ΔΙ.Ο.ΒΙ οι βιβλιοθήκες του ΔΙ.Ο.ΒΙ θεματικά ασχολούνται με αυτό και έτσι είναι ένα σεμινάριο που μας αφορά όλους, κάθε ηλικίας και κάθε είδους βιβλιοθήκης και κάθε εργασιακού αντικειμένου, οι θέσεις, οι τίτλου κλπ. Το ΔΙ.Ο.ΒΙ, για να περάσω στην παρουσίαση του δικτύου μας, να μην χάνουμε και χρόνο από τη Λιζ, ουσιαστικά ξεκίνησε να λειτουργεί το 2012. Περάσαμε αρκετό χρόνο οι βιβλιοθήκες μεταξύ μας και τα μέλη να συζητήσουμε, ουσιαστικά να συγκροτήσουμε την ομάδα, την εμπιστοσύνη, τη γνωριμία, τις ιδιαίτερες ικανότητες ή αδυναμίες κάθε βιβλιοθήκης κλπ. Και από την αρχή επιδιώξαμε να δημιουργήσουμε μια στέρεη οργανωτική λειτουργία. Φτιάξαμε λογότυπο, ιστότοπο, εκδώσαμε φυλάδια, αφίσες για τις εκδηλώσεις μας, ορίσαμε τους κανόνες λειτουργίας του δικτύου, τον τρόπο επικοινωνίας και λήψης αποφάσεων για το δίκτυο και βέβαια εστιάσαμε στην εξωστρέφεια μέσω ποικίλων εκδηλώσεων και δραστηριοτήτων. Το ΔΙ.Ο.ΒΙ έχει τώρα ήδη μια δεκαετία δράσης, έχει στέρεες διαπροσωπικές σχέσεις συνεργασίας μεταξύ των μελών και κατά συνέπεια και μεταξύ των βιβλιοθηκών και μεταξύ των χρηστών των μελών. Έχει οργανώσει 2 συνέδρια, 6 βιβλιοπαρουσιάσεις, 11 επισκέψεις σε βιβλιοθήκες, 29 διαλέξεις, 2 σεμινάρια και 1 εργαστήριο. Κάποια από αυτά λόγω του COVID έγιναν και διαδικτυακά. Στις διοργανώσεις μας συμμετείχαν 99 ομιλητές και 2.100 ακροατές. Τα αποτελέσματα θα τα δείτε στον ιστότοπο, στην ιστοσελίδα του ΔΙ.Ο.ΒΙ, έχουμε στο chat τη διεύθυνση και επίσης θα τα δείτε και στο κανάλι μας στο YouTube. Για το έτος 2022 θέσαμε ως κέντρο της δραστηριότητάς μας τους 17 στόχους του ΟΗΕ. Έχουμε ήδη παρουσιάσει 5 διαδικτυακές διαλέξεις μεταξύ Μαρτίου-Ιουλίου του 2022, με 350 περίπου συμμετέχοντες και με πολύ θετικά σχόλια. Και αυτά επίσης είναι στο YouTube και στο site μας. Στο τέλος κάθε εκδήλωσης έγιναν αναφορές καλών πρακτικών βιβλιοθηκών του εξωτερικού στο θέμα της βιώσιμης ανάπτυξης, καθώς και περιγραφή σχετικών ενεργειών από την εκάστοτε διοργανώτρια βιβλιοθήκη μέλος του δικτύου, για να παρουσιάζουμε και τι πραγματικά συμβαίνει στην Ελλάδα και πώς οι βιβλιοθήκες δραστηριοποιούνται από αυτόν και δεν είναι καθόλου αμέτωχες ή ουδέτερες. Όμως επειδή το ΔΙ.Ο.ΒΙ συνεχίζει τη δράση του, μείνετε συντονισμένοι με το ΔΙ.Ο.ΒΙ.
Να
Σας
προσθέσω
ευχαριστώ.
εδώ επίσης σε όλα αυτά τα χρήσιμα που είπε η Ανθή για όσους και όσες συναδέλφους και συναδέλφισες δεν είχαν μέχρι τώρα την ευκαιρία να παρακολουθήσουν κάποιες από τις δραστηριότητές μας, ότι όλα αυτά που πραγματοποιούνται από τις βιβλιοθήκες μέλη εννοείται ότι είναι σε εθελοντική βάση, χωρίς καμία οικονομική δέσμευση. Εννοούμε ότι δεν υπάρχει κάποιο τέλος, ας πούμε, συμμετοχής στον ελεύθερο χρόνο μας, εντός εισαγωγικών, που ερχόμαστε εδώ να το συνδέσουμε με τη σημερινή ημέρα. Ποιος είναι αυτός ο χρόνος πλέον που μπορούμε να τα κάνουμε όλα αυτά. Και βεβαίως να σημειώσουμε ότι κάθε εκδήλωση που πραγματοποιείται, στο τέλος υπάρχει και αξιολόγηση, γιατί μέσα από την αξιολόγηση μας δίνεται το βήμα για να προχωρήσουμε και παραπέρα. Δηλαδή, χρησιμοποιούμε τις προτάσεις των συμμετεχόντων για να διαμορφώσουμε και τις μελλοντικές μας δράσεις. Δεν σημαίνει ότι απλά αποφασίζουμε, κάνουμε πράγματα χωρίς να λαμβάνουμε υπόψη και το κοινό. Και αυτό είναι πάρα πολύ σημαντικό και όλα αυτά βρίσκονται στη σελίδα μας, έτσι όπως είπε η Ανθή.
Και που
Ευχαριστώ.
είναι μέχρι τώρα πολύ θετικές οι αποκρίσεις και επικοδομητικές, αλλά και θετικές σε αυτό που κάνουμε και μας δίνει και κουράγιο να συνεχίζουμε, ακριβώς όπως είπες, εθελοντικά.
Νομίζω ότι όντως το ΔΙ.Ο.ΒΙ έχει ήδη κάνει σημαντικό έργο και στα πολύ λίγα χρόνια λειτουργίας του, σε σχέση με άλλα σχήματα παλιότερα κτλ. Νομίζω επειδή το σημερινό σεμινάριο είναι πρωτότυπο και είναι κάτι που είναι πρωτότυπο για τα δεδομένα του χώρου μας, του κλάδου μας. Και προσωπικά ανυπομονώ να ακούσω και την σημερινή μας ομιλήτρια. Νομίζω ότι αν είναι εύκολο, κύριε Κατσιρίκο, να προχωρήσουμε σε μια παρουσίαση της ομιλήτριάς μας και να ξεκινήσουμε.
Ασφαλώς. Η Λίζ Κούπερ είναι επίκουρη καθηγήτρια και subject librarian στις κοινωνικές επιστήμες και ενεργεί ως ενδιάμεσο στα τμήματα γλωσσολογίας, πολιτικής επιστήμης, ψυχολογίας, κοινωνιολογίας, επιστημών ομιλίας και ακουστικής, του Κέντρου Αγγλικής Γλώσσας και Αμερικάνικου Πολιτισμού, του Γραφείου Διεθνούς Εκπαίδευσης, καθώς και όσων τμήματων οι καθηγητές και φοιτητές τους χρειάζονται υποστήριξη στη χρήση της βιβλιοθήκης. Στα πλαίσια του ρόλου της συναντάται με τους φοιτητές που χρειάζονται βοήθεια στην έρευνά τους, παραδίδει μαθήματα οδηγιών στη χρήση της βιβλιοθήκης, επιλέγει υλικό από τις σχετικές συλλογές της βιβλιοθήκης και υποστηρίζει τις ανάγκες σε δεδομένα κοινωνικών επιστημών σε συνεργασία με το τμήμα της βιβλιοθήκης για ερευνητικά δεδομένα. Η Λίζ έχει μεταπτυχιακό τίτλο στην επιστήμη των βιβλιοθηκών και της πληροφόρησης από το Πανεπιστήμιο του Τέξας στο Όστιν, ένα Master of Arts στις σπουδές Μέσης Ανατολής με εστίαση στην ανθρωπολογία από το Αμερικάνικο Πανεπιστήμιο του Καΐρου και πτυχίο Αγγλικής από το Πανεπιστήμιο του Τέξας A&M. Πριν το Πανεπιστήμιο του Νέου Μεξικό εργάστηκε στο Κολέγιο Σαν Αντώνιο, στο Αμερικάνικο Πανεπιστήμιο του Καΐρου, στο Πανεπιστήμιο Έμορι και στο Πανεπιστήμιο του Κολοράντο στο Ντένβερ σε διάφορα τμήματα και θέσεις. Τα ερευνητικά της ενδιαφέροντα εστιάζονται στη διεθνοποίηση και τις ακαδημαϊκές βιβλιοθήκες, την πρόσβαση στην πληροφορία στις αναπτυσσόμενες χώρες και στις ποιοτικές ερευνητικές μεθόδους. Έχει δημοσιεύσει σε διεθνή επιστημονικά περιοδικά, κεφάλαια βιβλίων και πρακτικά επιστημονικών συνεδρίων. Liz, the step is yours.
Oh, okay. Okay, it's my turn now. Is that right? Thank you. I'm sorry. I wish I spoke Greek. I'm Greek American who speaks no Greek, but I can say καλή μέρα.
Just to keep you in the loop, we had a presentation of the Hellenic Economic Libraries Network, and we talk about how productivity in work in the understaffed academic libraries, it's a very hot topic for us.
Yes.
A new one to discuss in this kind of structure, like in a webinar. And we're excited to hear from you. So, as Dr. Katsirikou already said, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for attending today. I really appreciate your taking your time to spend it with me today. So this is going to be a workshop. I wish we were in person so that we could be more interactive, but we're going to do the best we can on Zoom. So as a workshop, it means you're going to have to do a little bit of work. It'll be hopefully fun work for you. And I'm going to paste a link for a handout. It's like a worksheet that you can use during today's session, or you can just use a piece of paper or open up a Word doc if you're on or a Google document, someplace where you can do a little bit of writing. And I'll paste. Oh, great. So the handout link is already pasted in there, but you don't need it. I mean, it's just an extra helpful thing. Okay, so I think you already heard about me. I heard my name a few times. So I'm Liz Cooper, and I'm a social sciences librarian. But most of my career, I was a manager in an academic library. Actually, should I share my screen? Let me share that.
Yes, please.
Yes. Can you all see that? Is that
Yes,
showing up?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Great. Okay. So, so I'm Liz. And as I was saying, for most of my career, I was a manager in academic libraries. And I made a shift back to being a subject librarian about 7 years ago because of some of the things that I felt related to what we're going to talk about today. So this is a topic that I've been personally interested in for a long time, and something that I'm beginning to do more research in. And I'll talk about that a little bit later too. So this workshop grew out of a session that I led at my library for a retreat that we did. And that led me to do a 3-hour version of this at the QQML conference in Athens this year. But I've changed that today to a shorter version for Zoom. It's going to be like about an hour. And I just wanted to say too, the history of this is the impetus for my library to do a session like this was that we were feeling overwhelmed with negativity in our organization. And even though there were really good things about our work environment, we wanted to spend some time thinking about those good things instead of the negative things. And we wanted to think about how we could individually contribute to building a better organizational culture for ourselves. And that maybe that would radiate out into the organization in some way. But our focus was on ourselves and our daily lives rather than on the organization as a whole. And that's the same today. So today we're really focused on ourselves and what we can do about our attitudes and our way we're thinking about our work. And, I really like the Stoics, actually. And Seneca said, we dye events with our own color, meaning, we decide how we're going to look at things. And so that's kind of a focus of what we're going to be looking at today. And the title of this session today, What Does a Good Day at Work Look Like?, comes from a question that the writer and physician Atul Gawande asks, and it really resonated for me. In his book, he wrote a book called Being Mortal, and he shares how in his practice as a doctor, working with people with terminal illness, he changed how he worked with his patients when he moved from asking them, so they have a diagnosis that's not good. He says, he used to say, well, should we fight? Should we do everything we can to make this, do all the medical treatments that we can, or should we give up? And he said he found a better question was, what does a good day look like for the patient? Meaning, what are the person's goals? What are their reasons for being alive? And the question becomes, what do you want out of the time you have left? And so it switches the frame to enabling well-being. Like, how can you get the most out of what is it that you want out of your life? And this is different for everyone. And he says, this is a question for everyone. It doesn't matter if we have a terminal illness. He quotes the writer Annie Dillard. She said, how we spend our days is how we spend our lives. So the question becomes for all of us, how do we want to spend it? How do we want to spend our days and our life? We are going to work every day. This is our life. And so what do we want out of each day and out of our lives? And so this is the frame of what we're going to be looking at today. That's all the background for what we're going to be talking about. So let me move this. Okay, so our outcomes today are to engage in reflection and discussion in order to become more self-aware about our values, especially related to work, and what brings us joy and allows us to thrive and contribute to a positive organizational culture. And hopefully we'll leave with a plan for you to develop your own joy and sense of well-being at work. So, okay, so the agenda really is, I'm going to talk a little bit and give some context about positive psychology and well-being. And then we're going to do some activities where you reflect, and it'll be a little more difficult to do a group discussion, but we'll try to see what we can manage here. And there's some questionnaires that you can do too. So that's what we're doing today. And this is the first activity. Remember, it's a workshop, so you're going to have to do a little bit. So I want everyone to think about and just take a couple of minutes to write down the answers to these 3 questions. Now, you can use the handout that I sent, or you can just write it down on a piece of paper and think about, why did you come today? What about this topic resonated with you? What do you hope to gain? And thinking about, is work difficult for you? And if so, why? What are the things that are bothering you? Or do you want to change or improve something specific in your environment or your personal experience at work? So I'm going to be quiet now, and everybody can take a couple minutes to look at this.
So Liz, you basically want us to write down some of this stuff, to have it in the back of our heads, to use it as we go along, right?
Yes.
Not answer the handout now. Just
no.
write down a few words and a few thoughts.
Right. It's just for you. We're not going to share this. This is for you to help frame what we're going to be doing today, and just to give you a context for yourself and what you're thinking about as we do this. And I want everyone to keep what we do in this exercise in the back of your head as we go forward today.
Okay.
I think that's enough. I think we can move on to the next thing. Okay, so finding joy and working towards thriving in general is a huge topic, and work is just one component of thriving in life. We have our outside life, our home life, and our work life, and they can all really impact each other. And when we're not sort of happy and thriving in general, that gets reflected in our work. And when work is bringing us down, that impacts our life in general. So they're very interrelated because we spend a great deal of our lives at work. Different researchers say anywhere from 14 to 35% of our life is actually spent at work. So how we spend our time at work is important. It's a huge part of how we live our life. And today we're really going to be talking about what we can do to get started, what we can do to become more aware of and related to our work selves that might help us find this joy and thrive at work. So a couple of caveats first, things to be aware of. First of all, I'm not a psychologist. I'm just a librarian interested in what makes librarians happy or thriving at work. And the second one is I'm an academic librarian in the US. So I come from a specific culture. Hopefully my culture will be similar to yours, but just keep that in mind. And three, I also wanted to make sure we're clear that today is really not about organizational culture or about top-down change to an organization. It's really, sometimes the culture in our workplace can be toxic or not good, and it doesn't align with our values. It could be an unhealthy organization. And there's often not that much we can do about that because of power dynamics. And even though research shows that toxic work cultures and workplaces can make people sick and they have lower productivity, and that it's a top reason that people leave a job. But sometimes as an individual, there's not that much we can do. So I just want to make sure that you don't see me as telling you that you can fix this yourself. I mean, all we can do is be in control of the things we can be in control of. Okay, so just making sure everyone's aware of that. So I want to talk, oops, I went too far. Here we go. Oh, this was supposed to be the slide for the last part I was talking about. I forgot to switch my slides. So here we go. This is, I wanted to talk a little bit about positive psychology. So today we're focused on individuals, joy and thriving and well-being. And in Greek, there's the word, I'm probably saying it wrong, but this is how I say it, eudaimonia. I don't know, it's an ancient Greek word, and it's really about well-being. And thriving is a word often used in positive psychology. And positive psychology is a form of psychology that looks scientifically at strengths and behaviors that make us thrive. Whereas before, psychology had a history of focusing on what was wrong, like maladaptive behaviors, illnesses, things like that. Positive psychology is the science of happiness and what makes life worth living. It's not just about surviving, it's about thriving, even during challenging and stressful times. And it's based on the work of Dr. Martin Seligman, and he's a professor at the University of Pennsylvania in the United States. And he's the founder of the idea of positive psychology. And much of what we're talking about today is framed in relation to positive psychology. So I wanted you to be aware of it and have some basic understanding of it. So Dr. Seligman, I pasted this actually a lot more information about this framework called PERMA, which Dr. Seligman developed. It's in the handout that I sent the link to. It's at the very end of the handout, and it really explains all these different things that we're not going to go into them right now, but it's something that you can look at later if you want to know more. Dr. Seligman created this PERMA theory of well-being based on his research, looking at the fundamental questions related to thriving. He determined that there were 5 building blocks that enable flourishing for humans, and these are them. So the P is for positive emotion, the E is for engagement, R relationship, M meaning, and A accomplishment. And he's saying that everybody needs some of these, but different people will derive well-being from each of these building blocks to varying degrees. So what's good for a good life or a thriving feeling for one person is not necessarily the same for someone else. So it's different, but these things are the key pieces of what makes people feel like they're thriving in life. And because we spend a lot of our time at work, as we said, a lot of our lives are here. When we think about work, we see that at different times in our lives, we value and need different things from it. So, does it feed and shelter my family? Does it give me money to live? Does it validate my ego and make me feel important or capable and feel validation from society? Does it provide community and relationships? Does it provide me opportunities to learn new things and challenge myself and grow? And those are all things related to PERMA, right? These are all about your emotions, your relationships to people, how engaged you feel in the world. And so it's important to think about these things. So I want everyone to take a minute to spend a couple of minutes looking at these questions. They're also on the handout. And when you do this, it's just to get a feeling for you get sort of your feelings about get your hand on I'm saying this wrong. Get the pulse of how you've been feeling at work lately. So think about your last week at work. Be sort of specific about it. Think about how it was. Was it good or bad? How happy have you been at work? And just answer these questions with a few words, not anything long. Like, for example, the first question, how happy have you been at work the last week? You can just say, I've been happy, or so-so, or not good. Like, it's not like some long thing you have to write out. So all of these questions, if everyone can just take a minute I'm going to do it too. So I'm going to make sure we're kind of on time here. And I think this will help us get just sort of a feeling of how you've been feeling at work. Everybody go.
Perhaps maybe we can even rate like 1 to 10 for our use.
Yes,
and
you can
put a number to that and say
you
it
could,
was about 8 this week.
yes, definitely. Thank you. That's a great idea. Whatever you feel like gives you an idea. It's just for you. We're not going to share this with anyone. It's just for you to get an idea of what your baseline is. Okay, and after you answer these, take a minute to look at all of them together and review them and think about how these different things contribute to how you feel at work generally, about going to work, about what you value about your work and what might be missing from your work. These questions look at the PERMA framework because they're looking at how you feel about work, your positive emotion, how engaged you are, how your relationships are. And it's good to think about what your baseline is, because then you can think about where you want to go from there. If this isn't what you want, then what do you need to do to make this change? Okay, I think you can always go back to all of these too. All of these things you can do on your own later. I'm going to move to the next slide, which is another activity. And I call this one the 3 good things activity. And this activity helps us appreciate, because as humans, we really have a bias towards the negative. We often focus on the negative. And so we're going to start today by thinking first about the things that we like about our work. And that could be anything. Okay. That could be like, for me, I get to walk to work. I love that. I can ride my bike or walk every day. And I love starting my day that way. And I've never worked at a library where I could do that before. So it's actually one of the things I really like about my job. So it could be anything from that to something you like about doing your job, to your colleagues, whatever. So just take a minute or two to write down 3 things, and then think about why those things rose to the top. Like, why are those things important to you? And what values of yours do those align with? And just write a sentence about that, like afterwards. So write your 3 good things, and then write 1 sentence about why you think those are important to you. And I'll be quiet again for a minute, and you guys can take a time to do this. Okay, now, if we were in person, I would say, let's all talk in little groups about this, but we can't really do that in this big forum online. But I don't know if it's possible if anyone wants to share what they like about their work with the group today. And maybe if you do want to share something, you could raise your hand, and I think they can turn on your speaker. Is that correct?
Yes. Please raise your hand if you want to share something with the group, and we will give you the right to speak. And we will manage the English if that's a thing for you. So maybe I can go and see someone else wants to share.
Thank you.
So I wanna say something small, like my desk. I love my desk. I love the way I create the space around me, because I think the space is important. You live in that space for like 8 or more hours per day. So that's the small thing. And I also like the big thing, like my duties, my everyday duties, the contents of my work. And the third thing, I like the connection with people outside the library. The way as a librarian, I have the opportunity to help another in their research or their questions, or connect. I like the connection. So it's a small thing and 2 big things.
No, those are good. Thank you. It's all kinds of things that make us happy or excited or glad to go to work. For me, it's also my colleagues. Like, I love the people I work with, and I really missed them during COVID. I didn't get to see, I saw them this way through Zoom, but I really missed getting just to chat and laugh with them in between meetings or classes. And that's something I really value. I don't know, does anyone else have anything they want to mention?
We have a silent group today.
We have a silent group. You guys, you have to participate. Okay. Or at least be thinking about it. I hope everyone's at least thinking about it.
Maybe they can type in the chat something if they don't feel stable, you know. Μπορείτε να βάλετε και στο chat ό,τι θέλετε, αν δεν θέλετε να... ή στο Q&A, αν είναι ερώτηση προς τη Λίζ. Σίγουρα μπορούμε κάτι να μοιραστούμε όλοι που αφορά την καθημερινότητά μας στη δουλειά. Κάτι μικρό ή κάτι μεγάλο που μας αρέσει. Yes, Liz?
I was just going to say that would be great if people just wrote something in the chat that they liked about their work.
Yes, maybe we can leave that for now and read
we'll leave it
if messages keep coming in the chat.
That sounds great. Okay, so we'll move on to the next thing. Oops, I'm not in the right place. There we go. So the next is thinking about you know, moving from the things we like about our work to thinking about the things we value in our work and in our organizations and what might be missing from that too. So it's good to think about our values and how they might align with our workplaces, and also good to think about what might be missing there for us, and what we might be able to do to balance or change that. Just to be aware really makes a difference, I think. It means that you can make some changes or appreciate the things that you do appreciate and just be aware of that. So I want everyone to think about what you value or appreciate in your current work environment. Now, it could be some of the things you just thought about in your last exercise, but it could be something different too, right? Like thinking more about your values. And then also what you think is missing in your work environment. You know, what you might wish were different or what would change. It could be things that are completely out of your control too. So it's perfectly fine to put that down here. So everyone take a minute to do that.
Maybe the chat wasn't maybe the chat was disabled, and please retry because we're having some Q&As and some questions telling us that the chat doesn't work. Please try again. But if you can't use the chat, put everything you want in the Q&A. We will see it.
Okay, that sounds good.
I wrote already two things I appreciate.
Thank you, Auntie.
So I think perhaps it works.
But you're a host too, so it might be because you're a host.
Yes.
Could be.
Well, anyway, it for everyone now, but please don't hesitate to use either works for you, Q&A or chat. That's just the means. The thing is that we share now. So right. That's the important thing.
And let's see, Q&A.
And I don't know, Liz, if you are seeing everything because you are sharing your screen now. I can read it out for you.
Oh, sure.
So we have from Dr. Katsirikou that she appreciates the cooperation and the common vision with her colleagues. So that's an important one, I think.
I think so too.
To have this kind of connection within the working environment.
Yes, and so everyone can think, it seems like maybe it's not working for people to share, but I'll just share a little bit too of, I did this exercise with the people I work with here in my library, and we had a long list of things. The things that came up were like flexibility. We have a very flexible work environment, which is very, most people here really appreciate that. We have a lot of autonomy. We have a lot of laughing and fun. We have good colleagues, variety, and opportunity to do brain work, we call it, where we get to think about it. Oh, thanks, Christina. I see hers too. Partnership. Christina writes about partnership, having a great time. We laugh a lot, nice environment, feeling like a family. We're very supportive of each other. And that's really similar to, I have actually the same things from my library too, about supportive, laughing, working with colleagues that you appreciate. Some of the things that came up in my library that were missing, which actually were the negative things that led us to have this workshop in the first place, because we'd been focusing on them too much. We had been frustrated because we felt like our leadership wasn't bold enough, or didn't have a good vision to move our library forward, or enough risk taking. So that was an issue for us at that time. That was a couple of years ago. Funding, it's a huge issue. It always drives us all crazy that we don't have the money to do what we wish we could do. And so we valued the money in the organization, and it was missing. Sunlight, we don't have enough sun in our library. It's very dark. And so we're always trying to come up with ways. Are there ways we could get more sun in our building? And also, like, we felt like joy and celebration were missing, that we weren't celebrating enough the things that we did do well and the things that we were successful at. And because we're a very big organization, we felt like we were missing connections with each other. Like, we had our little group, but outside of our group, we often didn't know the other people in our organization as well as we wished. So those were all things that, once we had this list too as a group, this is something you can do as an individual, which is what we're doing today. But also, we did this in my library as a group of coworkers that worked together. We did this same activity, and it helped us to sit and brainstorm, like, well, what can we do to make it better? Okay, these are the things we don't like. Some things we have no control over. So there's nothing we can do. Let's put those in a different category. And what are the things that we could do? And community was one area that we really decided to focus on and spend some time thinking about how we could build more community in our workplace. That was something we did have control over. Okay. So this next activity, oops, I'm not moving forward. This is another activity. See, it's just full of activities today. This one I made up. It's called "What Would a Good Day at Work Look Like?" It's I would like everyone to sit and just write for a minute to describe a good day at work. Okay, not necessarily the perfect day or the super ideal day. I'm not asking for that. I'm asking about a good day. And most days aren't like super great and ideal. But so what we're shooting for really is to have good days most days. So what elements would make up this good day? What kinds of things would happen? And what would you do? And how would you feel? So this activity is important because it shows your values and your motivation, what brings you contentment. And it's important to ask, because if we are aware of what makes us joyful and content at work, if we are aware of the kind of day we would like to have, we can be more intentional and seek out these experiences. Like, we can try to make this day happen if we're aware that this is what we want. So, it's okay to put some ideal things in here too. So we'll just take a minute for everybody to think about this and make some notes about what your day looks like. Okay, and I'll just share. Thank you for sharing in the chat there. I appreciate that. And I'll share a couple of things that from my colleagues that came up when they did this activity. People really liked having time to focus and reflect. Sometimes we're so busy, that we don't have time to actually think about our work. And so they were like, if I had the perfect day or a good day, it would give me some time to just sit and do my work. Also, they mentioned collaborating with colleagues. They would have time to do that, time to interact with students and make connections, that they would be active and not sedentary, busy but relaxed, learning things, accomplishing things, having challenging work but not being overwhelmed, feeling like they were helping, and doing work that connects with their own interests and abilities. And I think that often comes up a lot too, of like feeling engaged but not overwhelmed. I found that when I've talked to people and done this workshop before, that comes up a lot. And that some of the feelings that people mentioned wanting to have in a good day were feeling accomplished, feeling competent, feeling helpful, feeling like they're having fun, feeling calm and in control, and also part of a community. I think it's interesting that people come up with a lot of the similar things. Like many of us are looking for a lot of the same types of things. Let's see. Here's another chat. Let's see. Yes, apart from collaborating with other colleagues and students to organize my daily routine, look after the library cat. Oh, that sounds fun. And the library garden. That sounds wonderful. We don't have a cat or a garden in our library. I would love that. Going on a workshop to learn something new, meeting with colleagues to plan a new activity or evaluate something we did. That's great too. And see, Christina says, a day that I have accomplished all my tasks and cooperated with colleagues and a good time management. Yes, that always makes you feel better. And having fun. I agree. And I love the interaction too of both working with my colleagues and working with students. I love the energy that students bring to my life. I normally don't work with people to talk to people that age, except here at work. So I love the energy of the young people that I work with. Okay, so thank you everyone for doing that. Okay, the next exercise, I'm realizing I have to change how we do it, because I was thinking we would do this in pairs, but we can't really do that. So this will just be something you do on your own again. I had called it 3 by 2 because it was you would be in a pair and you would each have 3 minutes to share a story of something that you really had fun at work, you really had joy or flow, you felt good about work, but maybe just write it down for yourself. Or you can also pop it in the chat. Oh, yes, I like that. Marditsa said she liked the children's smiles at the end of the day. That's a great thing to have. Okay, so maybe it's something like that. I'll give you an example of this. So I want everybody you won't tell it to your partner, just take some notes, to think of a story about a time you experienced joy, flow, or really liked a day at work. And then think about what elements in your story contributed to that joy. And then how did this resonate or not with your good day? So for example, the story that popped in my mind when I did this exercise the first time was we sometimes have an ice cream social party for our student workers, just once every semester at the end of the year. And we had just had that. And it was so much fun. I had the best time because I never get to be with all of most of the librarians came, all of the student workers were there. It was outside. It was just fun. It was relaxing. It was the end of the semester. So I just had a great time. I love that event. And so then I think about what elements of that story contribute to the joy. I love being with the people and just having this social environment that was relaxed and getting to be with student workers, which I'm usually not around that much. And then thinking about what pieces of that resonated with my good day at work. So, okay, I'm going to stop talking so everybody can have a few minutes to think about an incident where you really enjoyed your day. Okay, it's hard to tell how much time to give people. I hope you've had enough time to think about this, and also you can always think about it later if I'm going too fast here. This is a social sciences research technique. It's the critical incident technique that I'm actually using in a research project that I'm working on right now, and it really is about thinking about specific incidents as a way to sort of dig into some phenomena. So it's a way for you had your, what did we just do? The good day at work activity. So now we're thinking about a very specific incident and kind of digging into it a little bit more to help you think about it in a deeper way. So that's the point of this exercise here. Let's see. Thank you everybody for sharing your notes here. Laughing is always important. I like Dahlia's text here in the chat. I think laughing with your colleagues makes a big difference. Okay, so we'll move on to the next. We only have 2 more activities for everyone here, just to give you an idea of what's going on. The next one is about community building. And I wanted to add one activity around community building for a couple of reasons. First, we learned from PERMA, right, the positive psychology framework, that relationship is important. So community at work is important, and also feeling appreciated at work is important and builds positive emotion. And also, I found that the research there's 2 researchers, they're actually a father and a son. One's Dr. Donald Sull and his son, Charlie Sull, and they do work around toxic work cultures and why people leave jobs. And when they were conducting their research, their biggest surprise was to find that social events were very important for retention, and that they were cheap and they really helped with the work environment, and they had a high return on investment. And they said they were really surprised by that. And I think it does show that, how much, relationships at work and having fun at work and just knowing your colleagues makes a difference in people's attitudes towards their work. So I do think community building is an important thing that we can all engage in, and we can all help build in our work environments. So this one actually works really well if we were in groups because it's brainstorming together. So this one may not work so well individually, but you could each think about things, and maybe if you are able to post to the chat, pop something in there. Just things about how you could build community and how you could celebrate each other more. And this is the activity that in my library we spent a lot of time on as a group. So it's something you could work on too in your own libraries with maybe a group of your colleagues, thinking about how you could do this and what are some cheap and easy ways that you can celebrate and build relationship. I'll give everyone a minute to think about this and make some notes. Okay, and everyone feel free to keep working on this too. Oh, great. Thanks for sharing some things here. Let's see. Christina says, we drink coffee all together every morning and we speak about things about our job or even share personal secrets. It's like morning psychotherapy. Oh, that's great. That's really wonderful. Thalia says, I think it's important that everyone acknowledges the other colleagues' work without always expecting praise from the top management. Oh, that's a great point, I think, Thalia. Thank you. I have a few notes too from what my organization said in our retreat. Some of the things that came up that we've worked on is having retreats. So we have a retreat every semester, our team, so not the whole library, but just the people we work with. And we have a nice place that we go. We found this place for free. It's wonderful. It's out in this nature center. And we go and we just, we have a potluck, and that's where we all bring some food to share for lunch. And then we all give little presentations for each other. It's very casual, and it's just really fun. We have a great time, and it builds community with our group. We also do happy hours a lot. So we go to a bar after work and hang out. We started this thing called lunch arounds, where we're trying to meet people outside of our just little group. So we set up, and we send an email and say, there's going to be a lunch group going to this place at on this date. Five people sign up. So then anybody in the library can sign up, and you can end up going to lunch with people you would never normally talk to. So that's been a good activity too. We've started doing things more with like hiking, and a lot of we live by the mountains here in New Mexico. So there's a group that goes hiking on weekends sometimes. And we've been trying to do things like take trips to visit other libraries together, so that we realize that lots of us, there's a library just down the street that none of us had been to. We're like, why don't we go to that together? And it'd be kind of like a fun outing. So we've been doing things like that. And then for celebrating each other, people came up with all kinds of different ideas. One was like, let's see. We do have a newsletter now called the Kudos newsletter. So it's when somebody does something good, you send it in to this one woman, and then she writes them all up every week. And so it's a way to thank people publicly for or something they helped you, or something that you appreciated about your colleagues. We also decided to make a list of things we really like about our job, and that we were going to share with new people when we're hired at the library, so that they could have an idea of what we liked about our work. We were also going to do something like, we haven't done this yet, but you would give people a little coupon or something every time they did something that you like. Let's see, Christina says, as a manager, I send an email to library staff and make a reward for the good job. Oh, that's great. I think that's really nice to have people feel like they're appreciated and that somebody acknowledged what they did. So anyway, I'm sure you guys all have different ideas on this. And I think it is a good exercise to do with your colleagues to see if there's things you can come up with as an organization that help you feel better about everything. Okay, so this last activity is, I call it the making a plan activity. So I've given you your dream goal. Your dream goal is having your good day that you visualized earlier, to have that day more often. So then to make a plan, usually you have to have a goal. So now I've given you your goal, and then you need to think about it in these ways. So, and this is on the handout, but also you can just write it down. So how can you make that goal, having your good day more often, more concrete or specific? So for example, it could be, okay, I want to have my good day in the next year. I want to have a good day at least 3 times a week. Or it could be, I want to have more community at work. That would be what my good day, that would be more specific thing about my good day that I would like to move forward on. So come up with something more specific than what I have listed as your goal. And then think about what your current state is related to that goal. So actually this 5-step thing comes from a whole sort of planning framework. It's called the PATH process. And these are steps that the PATH process uses. So first is making it concrete, then thinking about where are you currently right now? So maybe my let's say my goal is in the next year, I want to have 3 good days every week. So maybe my current state is I rarely have a good day. So just getting that up is my goal. So put your current state and then think about who could support me. Like who would be people that could help me make this happen. So maybe it's the person whose office is next to you. Maybe it's your boss. Maybe it's your husband or your wife or your kid or somebody. Who are the people who can help you make this happen? And then you think about what strengths do you have or that you need to get there. So for example, if my goal is to build more community, I want more community in work. I want to be not just sitting in my office all day. Which strengths do I need to get there? Well, I need to be able to reach out to other people and maybe make an invitation to have coffee or lunch or something, or do something after work with them. So I need to have the confidence to do that. And I need to have, I need to have the confidence to do that and the feeling that I can do that. So that would be a strength I need to get there. And then number 5, what steps can I take to get there? One is that I'm going to invite someone out for coffee or lunch or to take a walk once a week. And I'm going to get out of my office and talk to people. I'm going to go see at least 2 people, and leave my office twice a day just to go say hi to someone. And then I list all those things out and then circle one that I could do right away. Like, what's the first thing I can just do to make this start happening? Okay, so everyone just take a minute to think about this and write it out real quick. Oops. Uh-oh, I meant to.
So I am not familiar with the path process, but it seems like the first step is to make a statement, like form your goal in one sentence, just to have it up front of you all the time. And the second one is to evaluate, where are you now?
Right.
And the third one is about people. And the 4 is about what you can do or what your aids are to help you get there. And the 5 is about planning. And I think it's very important what you say here, circle 1, you can do immediately. That's to get you, don't see it like one huge thing that you can't do anything. There must be something you can do right now. So that will get you to start the process. And I think that's a great way to have it all out and plan everything and go for it.
I agree. This actually really helped me because I like people. I really like talking to people, but I have a tendency to go to my office. And if I don't have a meeting, just be in there all day. I don't even leave for lunch. I just sit in my office and, work on my computer. I'm like, why do I do that? Like, that's not even my personality. I like to go out and see people and talk to people. And so when I did this activity, actually in Athens a couple months ago, I said, I'm going to invite someone to lunch or coffee and meet people that I don't necessarily see all the time. And I've done that. I have my little list right here of all the people that I wrote down a list of like, these are people I don't see very often. I'm going to try to make a lunch or a coffee date with all of these people because I like them. And like, why don't I see them. Like here I have access to these great people and I don't even get to see them very often. So, and I did that and I've been doing it. Although someone just canceled on me the other day, so I have to reschedule that one. But I think it really does help. I think a lot of this workshop is really just about being intentional. So it's really about being aware of what makes you happy or more satisfied, and then thinking about what you can do about it. Because obviously I already know that about myself, but I wasn't doing anything about it until I actually sat down and wrote it down and then thought, okay, why aren't I doing this? And okay, I'm going to do this. So this last activity really is about how to move forward with what we've thought about today and how to bring some of this into our daily work lives. And, you know, I hope that this has helped in some way to help you think about and frame, like, how can you make your day more like what you wish it were every day? And the homework really is like your first week back at work, which I guess is today, it's Monday, is to start your plan. Like we just made this little plan. So think about what is that one thing you circled, what can you do? And the other thing I think is good is this, let's see, number 2, at the end of each day this week, write down 3 good things that happened at work. And that's part of what they often call gratitude training, which is just about becoming aware of what is working. And doing this every day trains us to see more positively, because we really do focus on the negative and the things that are worrying us and the things that stress us. And that takes our brain's energy because we're humans and it's part of our nature to like be trying to protect ourselves and things. So it really is something that we often have to work on, to think of like, what are the good things that happened today? What did work? What did go well? And to focus on those and just to be aware of them, I think makes a big difference. And then I just have a question. If anybody has the ability to do this, let me see. Let me try to I have a link here. It's just for a little feedback. Where did it go? I'm trying to copy the
maybe
here.
to stop sharing. After you stop sharing, you can copy the link. Maybe now
Yes.
it's not working.
Oops, there it goes. There it is. Let's see. I'll paste it also in the now where did the chat go? There it is. I've sent it to the panelists here. And so it's really just a 1-minute thing. What did you find useful today? It takes you to a form. And what did you find not so useful today? It just helps me make this better for people.
Okay, so everyone has the form in their chat now. And we can...
Thank you.
So Liz, you would prefer us to do it now or after the
Either way, we'll just whenever.
Okay.
And then I just put a few
Really
links.
short, so we can do it now.
Okay.
It's not something...
And thanks to everyone for being such good sports about doing this in this Zoom sort of environment, because it really is so much more fun to do this when you're with people and you can talk and share things. But I appreciate everyone trying to do this in our more isolated Zoom environment here. And I've just put a few links. They're also on the handout. These are things that I mentioned today. There's so much written on this, it can be overwhelming, but I've just included some of the things I mentioned so you could dive deeper into them if you want to. If you have any questions, please paste them in the I think the question Q&A box, is that right? And also I've started some research studies on this topic about librarians and what makes them thrive at work. And I'm working on it with a colleague. And if anyone's ever interested in this kind of thing, you can just send me an email too. We're trying to think of different ways to engage this topic and think about ways we can conduct different research projects around it. And that's the end.
Great, Liz, thank you. That was really good today, I think, because of all the space and time
Oops.
we gave.
It was an old slide. Yeah, if that's what you do, that's your day you don't want. That's the day at work you don't want.
Definitely, you don't want to be that guy.
Let's see. I went to go that way.
I can relate to that too. I think we all can relate to that too. I really enjoyed all those different frameworks to think about stuff, and I like the distinction you made earlier, the things that we can change and the things we can't change. That's really important, and to work on the things that you can change and the whole thing that make your goal specific, and see who else can share your ideas and your goals, and go for it and plan it and do something today. I think especially that one is really important, because we all, what you said about you go to your office, I think that the work overwhelms us, and we hope so that someday we will find the time, we won't have anything to do, and then it will be the time to plan, and that's not going to happen.
It's true.
So let's squeeze this thing among other things. And Christina is saying that it was really inspiring.
Oh, great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I could agree to that, definitely. And I think that if we knew beforehand that we should work in groups, we could have arranged that. We didn't. That was on our.
No problem.
Okay, so I think that would have gone better, but it's important that everyone thought about those stuff, and it's important that all the examples were from the library, because usually these kind of webinars or seminars are more general, and I think we all enjoyed the reference to our library environment, our colleagues and our students and all this. So if anyone wants to share something, maybe raise a hand or put it on the chat box, or even Q&A, whatever suits you.
And it's very interesting to see that every librarian has the same, beliefs, things, everyday schedule, and
even if it's far, far away on the ocean.
Yes.
It's true. I think it is important to think about what we can control, because sometimes we're overwhelmed by all the things we can't control. Like sometimes maybe our boss, we can't control our boss, or maybe we can't control, how much work we have. We have too much work. And it's trying to think about how we can make that balance of what we can focus on, and what I really do like the Stoics for that. They really focus on the things you can't control, just push them outside. Now, what are the things you can, and think about them and what you can do. So thanks for everyone for taking the time to, I know it's like 5 o'clock, it's time to go home, isn't it? Or be at home or doing something else besides library things. So I appreciate your time.
We thank you also, Liz, for being here with us.
Oh, thank you. I wish I were there in person. That would be great. I love Greece, so.
So we have thank yous coming in, and I think people got excited. Sophia is telling us that she found this seminar prototype and interesting, original, and we all need motivation to make our daily routine in our jobs better. That's so true. I want to take another couple of minutes to see if someone else wants to add something. You can either raise your hand or or put it on the chat or Q&A, whatever suits you. Maybe my colleagues want to say something. Anthi, maybe you or Iphigenia wants to say something. For example, I didn't get the chance, I didn't have the time to write in the chat box about the values that we appreciate. And us being all in the Greek academic libraries, I think that one of the things that we share is the freedom of expression, more or less. And if it's not the case, then we should fight for it. But being in an academic institution gives you a more range, more freedom to express yourself or your colleagues and make things happen. And one of the other things that I find great in libraries is that we serve other people's knowledge, and it's our mission to spread knowledge in the world. So even knowledge that we don't have, just be the mediators, and that's great. And I think it's something that must be in our hands and serve this. It's a higher purpose, let's say.
I agree. I feel like we're lucky as librarians. We work in one of the more sort of lofty and unique kind of fields, because we're working with knowledge and we're working with helping people and communities. And we're lucky that we get to be around all of these things: critical thinking, ideas, the life of the mind, helping and serving. Like, I mean, who gets to work with those kinds of things all day? We are fortunate for being in this environment.
Yes. Christina is telling us to think positively instead of nagging. And I think it's really important to distinguish nagging and from fighting for something, because it's easy to fall in the trap that I nag all the time and I don't do anything to change the things that must be changed. So that's really important. Christina has a lot of insight to share with us today. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you're right. I agree. I agree with both of you there.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this, for your contribution, Liz. I agree with you that we are lucky we have this job, and sometimes we forget the disadvantages, because the job itself is quite pleasant and interesting and important. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate getting to be here and work with all of you today.
We're moving to closure for today, I think. So I'll have some Greek words. Please hang in
Sure,
there.
no problem.
Οπότε, συναδέλφοι και συνάδελφοι, θα θέλαμε να ευχαριστήσουμε πρώτα απ' όλα την ομιλήτριά μας, κυρία Λις Κούπερ, για την απόψινή της παρουσία και συνεισφορά. Να ευχαριστήσω τις συνδιοργανώτριές μου, κυρία Ιφηγένεια Βαρδακώστα και βεβαίως την κυρία Ανθή Κατσιρίκου, για τη μεσολάβησή τους και τον εμπλουτισμό του προγράμματος του 28ου Πανελλήνιου Συνεδρίου Ακαδημαϊκών Βιβλιοθηκών. Να ευχαριστήσω τη Διεύθυνση Πληροφορικής και Δικτύων του Ιονίου Πανεπιστημίου για την τεχνολογική τους υποστήριξη και κυρίως τους συναδέλφους Έλενα Καβαδία και Σπύρο Λιντοβόη, τον εθελοντή μας, κύριο Θοδωρή Γουλιάνη, για τη βοήθειά του στον τεχνικό συντονισμό, τους συναδέλφους μου από τη Βιβλιοθήκη Νίκο Αναστασίου και Φανή Κουλούρη. Thank you, Dr. Cooper, for your time and expertise. And we hope to have you again in one of our webinars, maybe, or even in person, if you happen to visit Greece again. And thank you all for attending today's webinar. Σας ευχαριστούμε για την απόψινή σας συμμετοχή και παρουσία και ελπίζω να σας δούμε σε κάποια από τις σε κάποια επόμενη διοργάνωση της Βιβλιοθήκης.
Ευχαριστούμε και εμείς για την διοργάνωση.
Ωστόσο, μείνετε συντονισμένοι στο ΔΙ.Ο.ΒΙ.
Μείνετε συντονισμένοι στο
Μείνετε
ΔΙ.Ο.ΒΙ.
συντονισμένοι στο ΔΙ.Ο.ΒΙ.
Κάνει πολύ ωραία πράγματα. Μείνετε συντονισμένοι στον ιστότοπο του συνεδρίου. Θα έχουμε και άλλα πράγματα που αφορούν το συνέδριο και από εκεί και πέρα πώς προχωράμε. Νομίζω εδώ μπορούμε να κλείσουμε.
Και εσάς ευχαριστούμε για τη συνεργασία και για το βήμα που δώσατε στο δίκτυό μας για τη σημερινή
Ασφαλώς, εννοείται. Και επίσης σε όλους τους συναδέλφους που παρακολούθησαν και συμμετείχαν.
It was an interesting and inspiring webinar for us all. So thank you. Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you, Liz Cooper.
Oh, thank you.
See you again.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Have a good evening.
Bye, Liz. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Liz.
Bye-bye.
See you.
See you later.
Bye-bye.